Okay. Are we on YouTube and Zoom?
YouTube. Okay. YouTube. Okay, good. YouTube is really slow.
It's okay. Yeah, it's fine. Okay, so good morning, everyone. We'll begin with the reflections on universal well-being. May I abide in well-being, in freedom from affliction, in freedom from hostility, in freedom from ill will, in freedom from anxiety, and may I maintain well-being in myself. May everyone abide in well-being, in freedom from hostility, in freedom from ill will, in freedom from anxiety, and may they maintain well-being in themselves. May all be released from all suffering, and may they not be parted from the owners of their action, and inherit its results. Their future is born from such action, companion to such action, and results will be their home. All actions with intention, be they skillful or harmful, of such acts they will be the heirs.
My sound is not very clear.
Okay. Do you know the reason? Is it Zoom or is it YouTube?
Zoom.
Check the, is it hello? Sorry, just testing the sound. Are you sure the mic is on a camera one? It's got the USB. I think the mic might be the wrong mic. It's using probably the onboard laptop mic. Right? Okay, so I think the sound's okay now. Okay, great. Again, appreciate everyone's patience as we get the technical glitches from our system out. It's actually pretty amazing that we can stream to you live from Snow Mountain Monastery up here in Index, Washington, where there's not very fast internet. So I was just checking the dates, and today is the 44th day of our retreat. So we're almost halfway through, right? 90 days, 3 months, so we're almost halfway through. And I think for the men here, you can just reflect how much has happened in 44 days. It's like a whirlwind tour of the Dharma realm. And as we were saying, this week was on the theme of filiality. And this retreat's theme is on returning to nature and nature, going back to our source, going back to our roots. Because filiality is really a practice of going back to our roots. You could say respecting our parents, gratitude to our teachers, to Master Hua, to the Buddha, the lineage down all the way to us.
Recording in progress.
And so you could say filiality is an important practice within our tradition. The Brahmanet Sutra, as he says, it's an ultimate dharma. Through the practice of filiality, we can realize Buddhahood. As I wanted to share some of highlights so far. We've just been maybe 2 or 3 days on this retreat within a retreat. And so it began on the car ride We spent about maybe 18 hours together on the car and spent probably most of it talking about filiality, believe it or not. And we actually had enough to say for many, many hours, with people sharing their experiences, reflections, and insights around what does filiality look like in modern times. One of the men shared how in his generation, he takes care of his parents. Him and his brother and sister care for their aging parents in their 80s and 90s. But he can see that for him and his friends who are in their 50s, they don't expect that their children are going to take care of them. Maybe they'll find a group of friends to be together in their old age. As I heard that, I remembered as well when I went to Taiwan for a delegation. I asked the adults on the delegation what they thought about filiality in modern times, and they shared the same reflection. They don't see it really continuing in this next generation. And then one of the other men shared a very provocative question. He asked, why don't young people love their parents anymore? I don't know if he really meant that literally, but it was very provocative because it came with real emotion and interest. I think it's phrased as, why don't young people love their parents now? So a number of people shared about how, as young people, we grew up with a lot of independent thought. We think for ourselves, that's a high value. And often the traditions and cultures of our parents seem superstitious or out of date or irrelevant for our lives. Or sometimes we can end up just blaming our parents for all the problems that we have. Oftentimes in psychotherapy, we trace our current problems to childhood trauma and how our parents made a lot of mistakes raising us. Others talk about distractions in current times. But one person shared a reflection that I thought was quite insightful, that really stuck with me. He said, as he reflected on it, it's not that children now don't love their parents. He says if a parent were to quiet their minds and really observe their child with care, they'll be able to find expressed in a way that they expect how maybe they grew up seeing filiality. So this filiality is very deep. Right? It's been in human society for, millennia, or if not hundreds of thousands of years. And he described how he, just from this conversation with us on the car, he realized that filiality for his son was expressed differently than how he was expressing filiality, say, with his parents, with caring for his parents unconditionally, providing for them, supporting them. And I would say there's an element of this in Chinese culture, obeying them, following their instructions. And I think that's something that's very common in traditional culture, that the way we express our filiality and respect is to listen to our parents and obey them. But that's not something that's very highly valued in at least American society, and I think in modern society as well. More and more independence, more and more freedom, more and more questioning of authority, looking for this equality. So as I said, a number of the men here are interested in monastic life, and so he shared how when he wanted to come to the monastery to cultivate with a pretty strong intention to leave home, his son did not obstruct him, did not oppose him, but supported him. And he said his son didn't say, "Dad, I want you to stay around, because I want a more comfortable life. I want you to be around more." Rather, his son was willing to let go of his dad so that his dad could pursue his own dreams, his own aspirations. And he said, "I didn't think about this before, but this is actually really filiality expressed in my son's way of showing love and care." And that really made me reflect, because it is, I think, really true that in each generation, it's not that love disappears, this caring heart doesn't disappear, but that it gets expressed differently, generation by generation, because our values shift. And if we just get caught up in our cultural values and expectations, or what we were brought up in, children as well, if we expect our parents to show their love by giving them, you could say, the autonomy and freedom that we expect, because that's how we grew up, the hearts don't connect. Instead, what happens is, I think a lot of times, fighting and tension and kind of conflict. And so, if we can actually quiet down our minds, let go of our own expectations, our constant thinking and judging, and really come from this place of care, we like the word loving kindness, right? It's a place of unconditional care. Then we connect to something much more universal than just culture or family habits, our own point of view. And I think from there we find something that where hearts connect in often wordless ways, and we allow, you could say, the words then to arise naturally from that caring heart. I think this is possibly an antidote, or possibly a way that filiality can continue on in this next generation. And for those who are maybe older, or, now I realize I'm kind of old now too, it's kind of amazing, that we really hope to have this virtue of filiality carry on generation by generation, is to actually really cultivate that stillness of heart, stillness of mind, and that unconditional heart of care. And then from there, something could arise. So that was just one part of the conversation on the card. There's actually many more, and we also visit Pacific Hermitage, but maybe I'll save that reflection for next time. Okay, it's about 7:30, and we'll do our 3 steps, 1 bow. 好，我们现在3步1拜。So we can Samantha Padra's repentance first. 从普贤菩萨忏悔文开始。